Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. This time, Mysaria, the White Worm origins, Spymaster, Daemon's Paramour, and Queen Rhaenyra's Mistress of Whisperers explored. As much as we love the plumed helms and the painted shields of the Knights of Westeros, we love Spymaster action more. Some of the best scenes in Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire involve deception, espionage, and cold intellect. Every interaction between Varys and Littlefinger was a treat to watch, and their Game of Thrones endings were genuinely depressing. Thankfully, the world of Ice and Fire is far richer, and has seen more of their ilk come and go. We're already seeing Larys Strong coil his blood-stained fingers deeper around Queen Alicent Hightower's throat, R.I.P. Sir Harwin. But even in the short 7-episode run of House of the Dragon, Larys Strong is not the first Spymaster we've seen. Just 3 episodes ago, we were made aware of a Spymaster right there in King's Landing, whose involvement in the story began from the first episode. That person is Lady Mysaria, but the people of King's Landing know her as the White Worm. She is the lover of Prince Daemon and an informer for Otto Hightower, but will rise to become one of the most important players in the Dance of the Dragons. This is her origin explored, and spoiler alert, because there will be a lot of those in this video. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
It's been quite a night at the castle, it seems.
Yes, lady.
She is not the first woman to become the Mistress of Whisperers. Mysaria might be the first woman we know of who is officially a Spymaster in the Game of Thrones universe, but she's actually the second woman to hold that title, not even the only woman to hold such a reputation. When Aegon the Conqueror took his throne in King's Landing, he created a council of advisors to aid him in ruling the Seven Kingdoms and giving them peace, prosperity, and justice. The small council began with posts like Master of Laws, who was in charge of dispensing justice throughout the realm. The Master of Ships was in charge of the naval forces of the royal house. The Hand of the King was the second in command to the ruler and the second most powerful man in the realm. But the position of Master of Whisperers is not one of his creations. That dubious honor would go to arguably the worst Targaryen king to ever rule from the Iron Throne. When King Ennis died, his aunt Visenya flew to Pentos to retrieve her own son Maegor and install him upon the Iron Throne. Maegor was crowned and tested immediately through a trial by 7, which the mad lad actually managed to win, being the sole survivor and thus proving that even religion wasn't safe from the excesses of pure violence. But then he fell into a coma of sorts due to injuries sustained during the trial, and it was feared that the newly vindicated king would not live to see his reign unfold. When all else failed, Maegor's second wife, Alis Hadaway, whom he had taken to Pentos with him during his exile, returned to the Seven Kingdoms with a woman who would not only heal her husband, but marry him as well, and became the first person to hold the office of Master of Whisperers, or shall we say, Mistress of Whisperers. The Lady Tiana of the Tower was a deathly beautiful woman with pale skin and hair as black as night, earning her the sobriquet the King's Raven. She was a dancer in Pentos who rose to become a courtesan and was allegedly the bastard daughter of a magister from Pentos. It was believed that at some point during their stay in the Free City, the couple in exile became intimate with her. Some stories say it was Maegor, while others claim it was Alis Hadaway. Whoever it might have been, it can't be denied that the Lady Tiana was far more than what she seemed like at first glance. Queen Visenya explicitly gave over Prince Maegor's caretaking duties to her when she arrived in King's Landing, and miraculously, the king rose. After burning the Sept of Remembrance and winning the battle at the Great Fork, Maegor married Tiana and named her to his small council as his Mistress of Whisperers, officially creating the post. It is said that during Queen Tiana's time as the first Spymaster of the Iron Throne, discussing secrets in the Red Keep was foolish, as rats and other vermin were her spies. Tiana had a reputation as a poisoner, a sorceress, and an expert torturer. Under her questioning, a prince and queen died, and her actions led to the deaths of several of Maegor's children. Lady Tiana's terror was ended by the cruel king himself when he cut her heart out with black fire and fed it to the dogs for killing his trueborn heirs. But while she died, her legacy endured. When King Jaehaerys ascended the Iron Throne, he had the King's Justice, the jailers of the dungeons, and all of his confessors hanged for their part in the torture of his brother Viserys. Jaehaerys himself was never known to have employed a Master of Whisperers, and it is likely that he never did, because of what it represented to him and his kin. But Lady Tiana had proven to the realm that a king would benefit from filling such a post. During her time as the Mistress of Whisperers, Maegor was practically unassailable, and the fact that she, a non-Targaryen, had learnt the secrets of the Red Keep set a precedent for later Masters of Whisperers as well. The next time a woman would end up becoming this powerful would be in the next century, and that woman would share a lot with her spiritual predecessor.
Creatures.
You swore to protect me, Daemon.
She went from dancer to paramour to Mistress of Whisperers for Queen Rhaenyra, Mysaria's rise in power. At the start of 100 AC, the Lady Mysaria was an unknown dancing girl from Lys who was trying to make a name for herself in the capital of the Seven Kingdoms. 5 years later, she had become the favored lover of a Targaryen prince. Mysaria was a lithe and lissom dancing girl in her youth with skin as pale as milk. Because she was from Lys, a free city known to have the strongest surviving blood ties to Old Valyria, we can put this down to her blood of the dragon. She might have also been an albino woman or just really, really pale, but we digress. Mysaria came to King's Landing to make something of herself, and she was in luck it seems, because when Prince Daemon Targaryen was named the commander of the City Watch, she became his favored lover. It was said that the prince and his lick-spittles would give the best brothels in the city their patronage, but Mysaria had only one patron. With Daemon's favor and the run of the city, Mysaria's enemy came to know her by a different name. They called her Misery. In 105 AC, when Queen Aemma Arryn passed away and Daemon was exiled from the capital for joking that her son was the heir for a day, he took Mysaria with him to Dragonstone, where he impregnated her with a child. Daemon presented her with a dragon's egg in the custom of his house, but was commanded by his brother, the king, to return the egg, banish his whore, and go back to his lady wife. Daemon agreed to all three, but with ill grace, and to rub salt in the wound, Mysaria miscarried the baby due to a storm while traveling to Lys. This hardened Daemon against his brother for the rest of his life. We don't know if she went to Lys and then found her way back to King's Landing, or if the entire miscarriage story was fabricated by her from King's Landing itself. But we do know that she returned to the capital because Mysaria ends up playing a crucial role in the Dance of the Dragons. Prince Aemon Targaryen loses an eye in 120 AC to the dagger of Prince Lucerys Velaryon. Though he maintains that he thinks losing an eye and gaining Vhagar was a fair deal, the Green Prince decides to avenge that loss anyway 9 years later. In brutal fashion. Using Alicent's own maxim of an eye for an eye, Prince Daemon declares that his stepson's tragedy would be repaid in kind. He hires 2 men whose names are not even known to history. They are only known by names of things they are associated with, and Lord Larys Strong hears whispers that the mediator was a pale-skinned woman that men called the White Worm. When one of the perpetrators of Daemon's plan of action was captured and tortured, he revealed that all he knew about her was that the harlots called her Misery. That man's partner in crime and Misery the White Worm were never apprehended for their crimes. The latter party would rear her head again during the Dance of the Dragons, when she rose to become Rhaenyra Targaryen's Mistress of Whisperers in all but name. Mysaria became the heart of the intel unit of the Blacks, bringing whispers to her queen's ears and pointing out traitors in her own city. It is said that half of the people Rhaenyra would execute during her time in the capital as a ruler would be pointed out by Mysaria, and that her legacy as a brilliant but brutal spymaster would only be surpassed by Lord Bloodraven, who had 1,000 eyes and one, and saw everything through them all. Mysaria would inform her queen about treasons brewing far away from the Red Keep to within her walls as well, as she implicated her former lover Daemon of having broken Rhaenyra's trust, and also alerted her to a plot that sought to free one of her most important political prisoners. We don't think we should tell you who these people are, as it will ruin the show, but let's just say the latter is someone you've already met, and the former is someone we're dying to meet. Let us know who you think they might be down in the comments. But all in all, it is agreed that Mysaria did her duty to Rhaenyra as an informer, confessor, and counselor, and then some. She protected her queen from traitors and saved her life from elements within her own city that would rather see her dead than on the Iron Throne. Sadly, Mysaria herself was given no such courtesy, for her spying had earned her a reputation black as sin, and she was caught trying to escape the Red Keep in the dead of night. Her apprehenders gave her two options. She could die then and there, or keep her life if she survived a walk of penance that involved her getting beaten on the way to the city gates. Mysaria would fall dead halfway through her journey, kind of beautifully encapsulating the fact that she always had one foot in someone's door and was never truly on any one side as much as she was against the other. Misery, the White Worm's time as Rhaenyra Targaryen's Mistress of Whisperers, ranks amongst the worst times that King's Landing has ever seen. And yes, we're including the sacking of King's Landing by Tywin Lannister's forces. But where Mysaria's repute was extensive in the books, House of the Dragons has chosen to take her in a different direction.
Apologies for the late hour, my lord.
What is it?
A messenger brings word from the White Worm.
She's from the far east and is already an informant, but for Otto Hightower. Mysaria in House of the Dragon. The first time we meet Mysaria, she's getting her back blown out by everyone's favorite rogue, Prince Daemon Targaryen, and she seems to be having a better time than him. Daemon doesn't finish, so Mysaria calms him down by reminding him who he is and the fact that the king cannot replace him. When both Viserys' wife and son die due to complications related to childbirth, Daemon sinks into his cups on the street of Silk and genuinely seems upset because of what has happened until Mysaria reminds him that this is a celebration in his honor. Daemon gives a speech to his gold cloaks, the harlots, and anyone else that might listen, declaring his dead nephew heir for a day, and Mysaria is present for this. While at first it did not seem obvious as to why the show decided to take this route for the heir for a day comment, it would become clear soon enough that they're playing the long game with Mysaria's character. After Daemon's dismissal from court for his insolent comments, he takes Mysaria with him to Dragonstone and holds the castle with his gold cloaks, awaiting a response from Viserys. When he doesn't get one for 6 months, Daemon provokes his brother by claiming that his Paramour was with child and that he was planning to take her as his second wife, keeping in line with ancient Targaryen customs. In Fire and Blood, all this turns out to be true as far as Archmaester Gildane knows. Mysaria does become pregnant in 105 AC, and though Daemon doesn't declare that he's going to marry her, he does steal a dragon egg to present to his own unborn child. House of the Dragon adds more layers to this incident by letting us know that that egg belonged to Rhaenyra's dead brother Balon, and that Mysaria isn't actually pregnant. In fact, she doesn't even know Daemon is doing all this in her name. When Otto Hightower's entourage starts demeaning her as a whore and a bastard's mother, and when Rhaenyra casts suspicion on Mysaria's pregnancy status, that is when she realizes Daemon is using her. She departs the gathering and tells him she entered his service to be liberated, not used, when he comes to her after. At this point, we should also mention that Mysaria's ethnicity has been changed in House of the Dragon. Where she was a Lyseni beauty in Fire and Blood, in House of the Dragon, we don't know where she comes from yet, and neither does she. She claims to Daemon that she has been bought and sold more times than she can count, and comes from a homeland that she doesn't even remember anymore. This part, at least, is correct because it is quite possible that in the books Mysaria was an escaped pillow slave from Lys. But what doesn't quite add up is her speech, or rather her accent, because denizens of the known world describe the Lyseni language as having a flowy, song-like accent, and Mysaria's screams "foreigner" in all caps. It appears as though House of the Dragon had decided to take Mysaria's history further east than Lys, as her accent and her colouring suggests that she was born at least east of Volantis, in lands where the Valyrians didn't plant their seeds. It is possible that she was born in one of the cities of Slavers Bay, or even further off in Yi Ti or Leng, but speculating that will not do us much good. What will do us much good is realising that the showrunners have already started setting her up as a Mistress of Whisperers, and it's a blink and you'll miss it if you're not paying close attention. In episode 4, when Daemon and Rhaenyra enter a pleasure house together, you can see a child run off screen. Later, that same child arrives at the Red Keep and informs Otto Hightower about the princess's salacious revels. The guard that lets him in calls him a messenger from the White Worm, and as we're sure you guys have figured out by now, it was none other than Mysaria who ratted Daemon out. It looks like after leaving Dragonstone following Daemon's betrayal of her trust, Mysaria returned to her old haunts in King's Landing and took up with her old companions once again, re-establishing connections that are now coming into use. She has switched from being a brothel proprietor to an informer for the crown, as she realizes this line of profession will accrue her the most power over people that would try to mess with her otherwise. She isn't a stone-cold traitor like the men who stabbed Jon Snow. She does ensure that Daemon is safe and comes to check in on him the morning after to see if he can go back on his own. But when he insults her anyway, Mysaria just leaves and tells him to pay for the room on his way out. We suspect that we'll be seeing her sooner, rather than later, as House of the Dragon heats up towards the actual civil war. Judging by the fact that Episode 8 once again has different actors for Aegon, Aemond, and Helaena, it looks like another time skip is coming our way. And at this point, the more of those we get, the happier we will be, because it takes us closer to Mysaria getting involved in the dance proper. And we simply can't wait to see her in action as a Spymaster and a scorned lover. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Sir.